Good morning, everyone. My name's Rudi Page, and in fact, I have to thank Professor Allen because I got involved quite late. So I think only sometime last month I got my invitation, and I'm not an academic as well, so I've been impressed with your papers, but I do work with academics. That's the most important thing. So I actually specialize in policy implementation. So my skill within any system, whether it's a health system or an economy, international trade, or regenerating communities, getting people involved in neighborhoods, is to actually understand the dynamics, the culture, the politics, and the link between learning, the local economy, and the skills, and how communities work, and how you communicate with them, and then deliver on whatever the policy is. So actually implement it, and if where necessary, create the learning for the individuals, so that the individuals who are tasked to carry out the job will actually do it. And it's also about supporting local enterprise as well. How do you encourage local people to get involved in enterprise? And how do you link the creativity of people? And how do you link together the supply chains that are in a local economy? And if there are difficulties, actually understand where they are. And then also to take research reports and look at the recommendations, and then be able to say to people, right, this is what the recommendations say, and this is what we're actually going to do about it. So it's a term that we use in my world, instruction to deliver. So I'm given the instruction to deliver. And also sometimes, particularly within the health system here, I work within the NHS here, when there's difficulties within the system, that there may be staff, it may be service redesign, then somebody like myself will go in and work out where the difficulties are, where are the disruptive influences, and then to work out what recommendations and how we're going to put the system right. Because all systems work with harmony. And talking about harmony then as well, it's about how you work with teams. And we always talk about what we need are cohesive, productive and effective team working. So again, and particularly in a system like here, where you have so many different cultures, so diverse cultures, so not just in backgrounds, but of course the way people think and the way they work. And then of course within any health system, you have the different professions. You got your medics, you got your nurses, your midwives, you got the healthcare workers, you got your administrative staff, and it's being able then to understand how do we support those staff. If you think of our frontline staff, our frontline workers, how do you ensure that the system is enabling them to carry out the work that they need to do? And at the same time, we can't forget the role and the voice of the public, and particularly when you're delivering public service and the experience, the quality of service, all those things are really important. And so to be able to balance all those interests, all those stakeholder interests, is very much the type of work that I do, so I facilitate it. And there's a term that we use is all voices must be heard. And then one of the other key areas of the work that I've been involved in over 9.5 years, and that's to work with the Department of Health, appointing senior leaders within the NHS. So in any health system, you'll have large, complex organisations, and you have to make sure that you've got the best people at the top of the organisation, competent people who are running the system. So I'm very much involved in the appointment of the people who actually run the system. So that's really my role. And I've worked in about 21 countries, and so as I say, I'm very much a practitioner. Right, so that's enough about me. Now, my my work in the diaspora. So where do I come from? So I'm a Caribbean. I'm a Caribbean directly. So I'm half Jamaican. I'm sure you've heard of Jamaica, of course, and half. So that was my father, and my mother came from Montserrat. Has anybody? Have you heard of Montserrat? They got a big volcano. So that's in the Eastern Caribbean, very small island. There's only 1/3 of the island left now, due to the volcano crisis a few years ago. So I have worked there, and that's been quite interesting in terms of the impact it had on the people's minds. From an island that was very successful, self-reliant, to now an island that has to really operate under grant aid from the UK. So, and I was born in London, so all my work has a strong Caribbean feel. I've worked in South Africa and Sierra Leone and Ghana as well. So again, I also understand my African heritage as well. So the diaspora agenda is really important to me in terms of, and particularly in an advanced economy like the UK, of actually understanding yourself culturally, where do you fit in within an advanced economy like here, and then how then do you utilize your ability to operate in this economy to help the developing economies, Africa and Caribbean. And I just have a particular interest in the Caribbean because I spend quite a lot of work there. And one of my case studies will come from there. Right, so I'll kind of start then. So over the last 2 years, as a practitioner, I've looked at the way the Caribbean diaspora, so that's the governments, the various organizations that operate, and how they interact. And for me, what they probably should be doing to improve in delivery for stakeholders. So my position is that system leadership is needed. That's the first thing. System leadership is needed. And so the transformation of the traditional diaspora leadership, management and involvement model needs strategic leadership in governance, structure and strategy. Evidence-informed policy formulation and implementation is key to involving professional services and practitioners with a proven track record of achievement within host countries and who have also demonstrated a personal and professional commitment towards improving the lives of young people and adults within their countries of origin. I'm proposing a diaspora delivery system. And this delivery system will serve this purpose as it is aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and encompasses 4 key priorities for achieving inclusive growth and development cooperation. So that's international trade and logistics, rural growth and supply chains, global health and wellness, and learning and skills development. The diaspora delivery system will generate research and ideas to inform organizational planning and institutional development. Academic partnerships are essential. Global diaspora knowledge sharing roundtables and forums such as today are vital for networking and building relationships. The platform will be developed as an infrastructure that is attractive to independent service providers and talent from diverse backgrounds that can be transformed into a marketplace. The diaspora delivery system business model is knowledge-driven with a systematic approach to value creation and coordination of assets. Sorry, next one. Yeah. Cross-sectorial management consultants. I'm a management consultant, so hence why I make sure we're mentioned. researchers, and entrepreneurs. And that's really important to actually understand how you actually get policy delivery. And I'm always saying the importance of working with academics, because what I want from academics is clarity and definition. So clarity and definition. So cross-sectoral management consultants, researchers and entrepreneurs with leadership capabilities and relevant competencies for implementing shared values, vision and communication strategies. And that word value, shared values, can be quite a challenge when you're constructing teams, getting different groups of individuals to work together, as we always talk about working and thinking together. So shared values, vision and communication strategies will be working and thinking together to produce workable plans and strategies that are capable of integrating skills and expertise with infrastructure investment. I'd just like to speak quickly about a case study. So recently, so this is with RAFA International Development Agency and Blood for Life within the health system here. So recently, there was a large-scale medical equipment donation program led by two diaspora-led organizations, RAFA International Development Agency and Blood for Life. And so that was one agency from African background and one from a Caribbean background. And they were able to collaborate and under the Global Health Programme, source medical equipment from NHS Blood and Transplant and medical advices, and actually working with other diaspora organisations, churches, faith-based organisations, civic organisations, were able to arrange the donation of a mobile blood collection unit to the National Blood Transfusion Service of Jamaica. And also that initiative was supplied equipment to Antigua and Barbuda, Ghana, Grenada, St. Lucia, and Lebanon. And that's a very good example of being able to work within the system here and to really source a major piece of capital equipment for a country abroad. The World Bank states that reliable logistics is indispensable to integrate global value chains and reap the benefit of trade opportunities for growth and poverty reduction. So diaspora professionals and entrepreneurs can utilize their access to chambers of commerce, trade associations, and their market insight to promote international trade as a tool for local economic development. So international trade, so what we're really saying is that by trading and doing business between the developed countries and the developing countries, that's the best way to help those countries and to drive their local economies. Because it's obvious the outcomes that you get from international trade will be to generate income and employment for growth, development and poverty alleviation. It is a well-known fact that diaspora communities are not just motivated by profit, but also invest in the health, education, economic and tourism infrastructure for reasons of patriotism and personal commitment. Diaspora heritage and generational relationships are a powerful source of intellectual capital and know-how and should be nurtured, respected, and utilized to the benefit of stakeholders at all levels. And what I'm really driving at there is that the diaspora, we have to create the plans, we have to create the strategies, and then enter the marketplace in our origin countries. Next, please. The World Bank Logistics Performance Index. Has anybody heard of it? Can I just ask that question? Have you heard of the World Bank? That's really important. So if you Google World Bank or Logistics Performance Index, so the last publication is 2014. So it's actually called LPI Index 2014, and it measures all of the countries around the world, their trading and service delivery habits, and the way the economies. Yeah, it's really about trade in goods and services, and it's really interesting. And there's a lot of good deep learning in there in terms of the use of trade and services to develop the economy. The UN Sustainable Development Goals, the National Development Plans 2030, these are all common platforms for all countries around the world. So if we actually understand these particular policies, we can actually connect these to our own policies. So again, it's almost like utilizing the policies that are driving the development system, and we connect to those, and we can be pulled along and make our contribution. And of course, we've had a change here in the UK, where we've really been given a new impetus to international trade because of the UK voting to leave the EU. So that actually is going to create a lot of opportunities. And namely, the recent UK Caribbean Ministerial Forum in Bahamas, under the theme, Building a Stronger Partnership for Sustainable Growth and Development. So what I found interesting recently, there was a book called Achieving a Resilient Future for Small States, Caribbean 2050. And reading that book, there was a statement in there which I found interesting, which can apply to any country and any region as well within a country. Is that it said, countries in the region need to develop a strategic, collaborative, and coordinated approach to interacting with the international community. And I regard the diaspora, here in the diaspora, we are part of that international community. Let me start that again. Countries in the region need to develop a strategic, collaborative, and coordinated approach to interacting with the international community to achieve their vision of the Caribbean of the future. And of course, that applies to all countries regardless. A focus on international trade and logistics, rural growth and supply chains, global health and wellness, and learning and skills development provide opportunities for comprehensive strategies and action plans. And if you think of all these elements within your local economy, and think of the clusters that can be developed, and all the learning, the link between the universities and colleges and schools and your local economy, your local economic development departments, it's not difficult to actually set out a plan, both locally and regionally. Okay. The UN. Right, so the UN Sustainable Development Goals, there's 17 of them, but I've identified 6 out of the 17. So the six that I've identified really cover the health, the economic development, the education. So it's quite, and the thing about the goals, of course, they are global, and they're designed to meet the aspirations of all nations and are aligned with national traditions, policies, and priorities. And again, so if you think of this, it applies to all countries at any level within your society, these policies could be pursued and applied locally and meet the cultures. So ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. And when we talk about that, there was a program I was involved in called Passing the Baton, and it was the last Olympics that was in London, and we actually won a Inspire Mark, and the theme was quite simple, was passing the baton, inspiring peaceful, caring, and enterprising neighborhoods. And if you think of peaceful, caring, and enterprising neighborhoods, and that's the way that you regenerate your local economies. And then finally, this particular goal, which I think is number 17 on the out of the Sustainable Development Goals, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. And I think today is a good demonstration of a global partnership for sustainable development. Thank you very much.